What is up? This is Alex from Double Move Sports here today with a mock draft video. This is going to be part one. The first half of the first round. Part two will come out very shortly. But after some of these blockbuster pick trades we saw over the previous several days, today I'm recording on March 28th. I just wanted to get into what it means for the first round. We saw the Dolphins move back, the 49ers jump up to number 3, and then we saw the Dolphins trade back up to number 6 with the Philadelphia Eagles. So the first half of the first round has been totally jumbled. It left me and a lot of other people sitting here like, what does this mean for the NFL draft? What does it mean for some of these quarterbacks? So I just wanted to jump in here to Pro Football Focus's mock draft simulator and run through this first round and see what could make sense to happen on draft night coming up very, very soon. So let's go ahead and jump into this mock. As always, though, like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. We're going to have much more draft content, fantasy football, dynasty football content coming out as well. But with the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1, I don't want to waste too much time with this pick because we all pretty much know that it's going to be Trevor Lawrence at this point. There's some rumors out there that's going to be someone else. I doubt it. Trevor Lawrence is the guy. Urban Meyer has a fantastic opportunity to rebuild this organization with a guy like T-Law at number 1. So we're not going to belabor that point. We're just going to lock him in. But at the Jets here with the second pick, it gets a little bit more interesting because they need a quarterback, but they have a quarterback. I mean, Sam Darnold was their guy just a couple seasons ago in the top 5 picks of the first round. So now the big question is, do they stick with Sam Darnold? Do they trade Sam Darnold and take their own guy? And I think we're really going to know what the Jets are going to do with this pick before draft night because we just saw the 49ers obviously jump up to number 3. I think other teams are going to want, if they want a quarterback, they're going to be aggressively pursuing this number 2 pick. So I think the Jets are either going to trade Darnold away, or if they do want to keep Sam Darnold for the future, I think they're going to trade this pick away and trade back before we actually get to draft night. So personally, I do think they're going to trade Sam Darnold away, so that leaves them needing a quarterback with this pick here at number 2. If it was me, I would take Justin Fields here from Ohio State. But I honestly think the Jets are going to take Zach Wilson. They seem enamored with this guy. We just saw Zach Wilson's pro day, making some ridiculous acrobatic throws. It almost makes you think, like, how practical are those for the NFL? You might have a couple of those kind of throws each season, but he did them very, very well, showed that arm talent. He's fairly mobile. There are some concerns with his game. Didn't really show the ability to win big games at BYU. The competition can be called into question as well, but the things he's doing on the field, both in his tape and at his pro day, I think helped his draft stock. So I think the Jets take Zach Wilson at number 2, bringing us to the San Francisco 49ers at number 3. And the writing on the wall here is a quarterback because you don't trade 2 future first-round picks along with your 12th overall pick in this year's draft to get up to number 3 if you're not taking a quarterback. So the question is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Trey Lance? And I think number 3 is a little bit rich for Mac Jones. I do like his play. I think he gets a bad rap, but I do think he's a first-round talent. I think Mac Jones is going to go in the first round of this draft, but not at number 3. And I actually like Justin Fields. I just said I would take him at number 2 if I was the Jets. But I think for the 49ers, I think they're going to take Trey Lance here. So for that reason, I'm going to lock in Trey Lance with this 3rd overall pick. And the reason being is they seem committed to Jimmy G for the short-term future. And Trey Lance might not be NFL ready right now, but I think the intangibles he has, the arm talent, the mobility, some of his raw skill sets are really going to set him up to be a good NFL quarterback in the future. So if we remember with Patrick Mahomes, he wasn't the starter his first year in the NFL. It took him some time to develop behind Alex Smith. Aaron Rodgers was the same day back in the day in Green Bay. So I think Trey Lance here makes a lot of sense for San Francisco. He can sit behind Jimmy G, whether it's a whole season, whether it's a half a season, really develop some of his skill set, get some of these NFL coaching staffs in San Francisco. Shanahan's done such a good job out there. Get him working with Trey Lance and see what he can do. Because if you've got the mobility that he has, we're seeing that switch to mobile quarterback in the NFL. Think Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott. All these guys have to be able to do it with their legs. Trey Lance has that ability, has really good arm strength and arm talent as well. So I think he is going to be the pick there at number 3 for San Francisco. And that brings us to number 4, the Atlanta Falcons. They really need defense, but I don't think they can really justify reaching on one of the defenders here. Micah Parsons, to me, is the best defender in this draft. But number 4 seems early for that, especially with some of the talent at quarterback. Teams are going to want this pick. They're going to want to move up and get a QB. And the teams that stick out are the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. So in this mock draft simulator, we're going to go ahead and see if we can trade back to pick 8 or pick 9 for Atlanta here. And it looks like Detroit is interested in this pick. It looks like Carolina's interested in this pick. I think the Panthers make sense to move up for a quarterback. So we're going to see what we can do. We'll trade pick 4 for pick 8. And we just saw the Dolphins get several future first-round picks to move back 9 spots. This is moving back 4 spots, but it is for a QB. So I think we're at least going to try to get this 2022 first-round pick from Carolina. So we'd have the 4th pick for the 8th pick and a 2022 first. I think maybe Atlanta could get more for it, but just because I want to make sure this trade gets accepted here, we're going to say that they get a future first as well. So we'll go ahead and offer up this trade. Looks like it was accepted. So Atlanta trades back to 8. Now I have Carolina on the clock here at number 4, and their guy is going to be Justin Fields here. Teddy Bridgewater was not the answer to get them to a Super Bowl. Justin Fields, great dual threat quarterback. They have great weapons on offense. He's going to be the pick there at 4. So now we have the Cincinnati Bengals at 5. And based on them having the 5th pick, this draft is working out beautifully with all the quarterback talent at 1 through 4. I mean, we just had 4 straight quarterbacks go in this draft. The Bengals are sitting here like, we have our quarterback. Now we're going to get the best available of everybody else. And Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase here are 2 guys that they're going to be very, very, very interested in. They need help on the offensive line protecting Burrow. They also could use another receiver. They got T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, but throw Jamar Chase into the mix, and they immediately might have one of the best wide receiver trios in the NFL. But I do think the Bengals will go with Sewell here. They need to protect Joe Burrow. With him coming off of that ACL injury, I think it just makes too much sense for them to bolster that offensive line. They need help in the running game as well. And Joe Mixon could also benefit from a mauler at left tackle in Sewell. So we're going to lock that in. Now we're on the clock at number 6 for the Miami Dolphins. That trade back kind of eliminated any crazy rumor that they were thinking about drafting another quarterback and moving on from Tua. And I think this is another situation where the Dolphins kind of fell into really good value, and they strategically picked up future picks knowing they didn't want a quarterback, knowing they could capitalize on other teams wanting to get up into the top 3. And now at 6, they're sitting here with Jamar Chase on the board. And I know they signed Will Fuller. I know they have Devontae Parker. But I think they want to see what they have in Tua. And one way to know if it's your quarterback is to give him the best weapons you can. And if he can't do it, you know it's not. If he can, then you might have something special. So Jamar Chase here from LSU is going to be the pick for the Miami Dolphins. If things went the other way and the Bengals took Jamar Chase, I think the Dolphins would take Sewell here with this pick. But it's not panning out that way for them here. But I think they're very, very okay with Chase to give them, again, one of the best wide receiver trios in the league if they can pick up this young talent with Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, and now Jamar Chase. So now we have the Detroit Lions on the board, and the needs here are extensive. They have a lot of defensive needs. They need wide receivers as well. I mean, you got Brashad Perriman and Tyrell Williams, who were signed in free agency. You got Quintez Cephas, who you picked up in round 5 last season. So there's options here. You got Micah Parsons, who, as I said earlier, I think is the best defensive player in this draft. Then you got good receivers, Jalen Waddle, Devante Smith on the board. I think the Lions are going to go with Devante Smith. You bring in Jared Goff. You trade away Matt Stafford, get some future first, bring in Jared Goff. You missed out on the top quarterbacks in this draft. So Jared Goff is going to be your short-term future. You got to give him a chance. Brashad Perriman, Tyrell Williams, and Quintez Cephas are not giving him a chance. Let's bring in Heisman winner Devontae Smith for the Detroit Lions. Get him an elite young wide receiver. Even though he is undersized, I'm not worried about that. Let's see what Smith can do with a guy like Jared Goff. That is the pick at 7. And we're back to the Falcons at number 8. This worked out well for them. They picked up that 2022 first rounder, and they're still sitting here on the clock with the ability to get the best defensive player in this draft, Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State. That is a smash selection for them at number 8. Now we have Denver at 9, and Denver is interesting because I do think they want a quarterback as well. I don't think they're sold on Drew Lock, but you look at this football team, they're good at wide receiver. They have Cortland Sutton and then Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, who they picked up last year. At running back, Melvin Gordon, maybe they could use a guy to back him up, take that Phillip Lindsay role, but they're not going to do that at 9 overall. And defensively, they brought in a lot of good pieces in the secondary. They brought in Ronald Darby, Kyle Fuller. They brought in Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson, their own safeties. They brought them back. So I don't think Waddle is a position of need. I don't think Kyle Pitts is a position of need. I don't think edge rusher is really a position of need. But Rashawn Slater sitting here on the board at tackle, I think can help this offense. The offensive line is good, not great. You get an elite tackle to really protect Drew Lock or whoever the quarterback is, and that can be a cornerstone piece for this offense moving forward. So you got some cornerstone wide receivers. You got some veteran playmakers on defense. Now go ahead and get your cornerstone left tackle and then fill in the pieces behind that because the value is just not there at quarterback. So get a tackle, see if you can help Drew Lock, see if this offense can step forward this season, give him one more shot. And if it doesn't work, you're going to have to move on from Drew Lock and find a new quarterback next year. But Slater makes sense for Denver there at 9. Now pick 10. Cowboys are going to go defense, in my opinion. Oh, man, Kyle Pitts is so tempting there, though, at tight end. Wow, this offense would be incredible with Kyle Pitts, but there's defenders they need as well. You got Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech, Patrick Surtain Jr., who I think is the best cornerback in this draft from Alabama. And this is tough because how far are we going to see Kyle Pitts fall? We saw Jerry Jones get a little greedy with his offense last season and pick up CeeDee Lamb in the first round, even though it wasn't the biggest position of need for them. Man, this is tough. I am going to go ahead and lock in Patrick Surtain Jr. out of Alabama. Pair him with Trevon Diggs, and you start to get a nice young cornerback group there in Dallas. They don't need Pitts on offense, but man, it's tempting, and it would be a lot of fun to see Kyle Pitts go to Dallas. But now we have the Giants on the clock, and they've done a great job of addressing the offense. You got Daniel Jones, you got Galladay, John Ross, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton at receiver. You still have Evan Ingram at tight end. You have Saquon Barkley at running back. So I think this is going to be a defensive pick for the Giants. They did bring back Leonard Williams, but I expect them to go ahead and bolster that secondary. I think Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, makes a lot of sense here. You really go with one of the best available defensive backs at this point in the draft. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Farley. It's debatable whether he or Patrick Surtain are going to go first in this draft, but at 10-11, I think it makes a lot of sense for these guys to be fairly close in draft capital as well. So it makes sense for the needs of the New York Giants, and they get a stud on defense with Caleb Farley. And here we are, Philadelphia, trading back from number 6 to number 12. And there's a lot of talent on the board here. Jalen Waddle at wide receiver, Kyle Pitts at tight end. I think with this pick, you got to go help Jalen Hurts. I think maybe if Devante Smith were to fall here, if Jamar Chase were to fall here, those would be incredibly tempting options. You have Dallas Goedert, and as of this recording, Zach Ertz is still on the roster. At wide receiver, you really have Jalen Reagor and nobody else of note. So the pick's going to be a pass catcher. It's going to be a playmaker. Jalen Waddle is a speed guy. He's a playmaker, but Jalen Reagor, they could pair up the two Jalens that are built on speed, but their skill sets are so similar. I don't think they need both of these guys. Jalen Reagor is really a burner down the field, and I don't want to get too redundant with that in the offense. So I'm actually going to go with Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida, for the Philadelphia Eagles here at 12. They kind of have him fall into their lap, and he's a hybrid tight end receiver type player. This dude is an absolute monster. He could convert to wide receiver, or he could be classified as a tight end and be split out wide on, 85-90% of his snaps. Obviously, in this case, I would expect them to move on from Zach Ertz. But Pitts could come into Philadelphia and be the number one target. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the number one target for Jalen Hurts if they're able to get him here in the first round. So now moving on to the LA Chargers with the 13th overall pick. And there's some tempting names on the board here. You got Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. Now, he's a guy that can make sense for Justin Herbert in this offense. Pair him with Mike Williams. Pair him with Keenan Allen there. And wow, I'm sure the Chargers wish Kyle Pitts would have fallen to them at the 13th spot here to replace Hunter Henry. But we're going to go with a tackle. They picked up Corey Linsley from the Green Bay Packers in free agency. They picked up another offensive lineman from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Matt Filer. There's his name. I was losing it there for a second. So they picked up 2 starting offensive linemen in free agency. I think it makes sense to go out and get a tackle as well to protect your young, valuable prize possession quarterback in Justin Herbert. Best available here at the tackle spot is Christian Darrisaw. So we are going to go ahead and lock in that pick of Christian Darrisaw at offensive tackle for the LA Chargers. And here we are now with the Minnesota Vikings at 14. They don't need a wide receiver. I think they could use some defense, and there's still some good edge rushers on the board. You have Kwity Paye here from Michigan. If you go down the board a little further, you have Jason Owe from Penn State. You have the pair of Miami guys as well, Gregory Rousseau and even Jalen Phillips. I do think the Minnesota Vikings will take an edge rusher here. Kwity Paye is best available, in my opinion, and according to this PFF mock draft simulator. So we're going to lock in that pick for the Minnesota Vikings. And now we get to the Pats at 15, and it's going to get interesting here because they obviously have positions of need. They just spent, half a bank in free agency on some of these guys like Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, some defensive players as well. So for the Pats, I think you might start thinking about a quarterback here. Cam Newton's back on a one-year deal. You didn't bring in any additional help in free agency, and you got a guy in Mac Jones still on the board at 15 that could be a great pick for Bill Belichick and company. He doesn't have to come in and start right away. He can compete with Cam Newton, and you give yourself a shot with a quarterback of the future in Mac Jones. And I think at the 15th overall pick, the value makes sense for New England. So this is going to be a fun one. We are going to lock in Mac Jones for the New England Patriots at 15. And now we have the Arizona Cardinals with the 16th overall pick. They brought in A.J. Green. They still obviously have DeAndre Hopkins there. They have Chase Edmonds at running back, Kyler Murray at quarterback. So I don't think they're going to take a running back here. I do expect the Cardinals to take a running back at some point in the draft to complement Chase Edmonds. I don't think they need a wide receiver here. I think they do need defense. Christian Barmore from Alabama on the interior of the defensive line makes a lot of sense for Arizona. They picked up J.J. Watt this offseason to get after the passer. So now you bring in an interior D lineman to stop the run, and I think we could see a greatly improved Arizona Cardinals defense in 2021. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Christian Barmore from Alabama. And we are going to stop there for this video. We are going to knock out picks 17 through 32 in part 2. But really quickly, let's go ahead and recap these picks. We have Trevor Lawrence at 1 overall to Jacksonville, followed by Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields. A nice little quarterback run there. Then we have Penei Sewell to the Cincinnati Bengals, Jamar Chase to the Dolphins, Devante Smith to the Lions, Micah Parsons to Atlanta, Rashawn Slater to Denver, Patrick Surtain Jr. to the Cowboys, Caleb Farley to the Giants, Kyle Pitts to Philadelphia, Christian Darrisaw to the LA Chargers, Kwity Paye to the Vikings, Mac Jones to New England, and Christian Barmore to the Arizona Cardinals. That is going to do it for part 1. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Also hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. But again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you next time.